Alright, so you'll have to bear with me because it's been a minute since I've done any kind of content for YouTube. So this is the 99 to 02 GMT 800 drive-by cable LS cruise control wiring to the 83 to 87 factory Squarebody cruise control. So the cruise control switch that's on the steering column, the multifunction switch that has turn signals and wiper cruise built into it. So out of the Squarebody, your on-off set coast 12 volt with ignition on, and then your resume Excel, all of these wires are going to be down kind of in between. No, it's on the left side of your gas pedal, I think. So basically it's a black box, probably about yay big, and it's slid up right up beside your gas pedal. So there's a plug on the bottom side of that. Pull that out. You can take that whole module, throw it away. You don't need that anymore. The old system was ran off of vacuum anyway. This new system's ran off, you know, it's electric, runs the wire harness. Anyway, so your factory Squarebody wiring, you're going to have an on and an off. It's gray. Set coast, dark blue. 12 volt with ignition is pink, and then resume Excel is green. I have no idea whether or not these colors are accurate because I haven't put my harness on yet to verify that these colors are correct. Given the age of these trucks, these colors may not even be, you know, correct anymore. They could have faded, you know. They might not be as prominent, you know. Pink might look tan by now, who knows. The best advice I could give you is to go up under there with a multimeter or go up under there with a test light and play with your switch to find what wire does what before you cut the connector off of it. One of them is going to be 12 volt with ignition on, so turn your ignition on and find the one that's hot. Once you find the correct wire, play with your ignition, turn it off, turn it on, make sure that it's 12 volt with ignition on. I'm assuming it would also need to be on while running. And once you verified the correct ignition wire, then you can play with your switch with your key on. Press your set coast. That's the little circle button on the end of the turn signal multifunction switch. Your on off will be the little slider switch on there. Find the right wire that works. Same thing with the resume in Excel. Find the wires that work. These colors might be correct, they might not. I'm just not sure yet. That's all you need for the Squarebody side of it. Now, the GMT 800 cruise control module for the drive-by cable, it has all these different pinouts. The plug on the module itself is labeled A through K, and I have the pinout diagram with all the functions of each pin, so you can screenshot this. If you're running a automatic, then you won't need this manual portion, but this does the same function. So either or, just, you know, make sure you hook it up to the right spot. So go ahead and screenshot that if you need it. So all you're really going to be doing through this whole process is just hooking these up where they need to go. So pin A, cruise control on, switch signal, is going to go to on off gray on the Squarebody side. And you just go down the line. So the set coast is going to go to set coast. Resume Excel is going to go to resume Excel. There is a, let's see, where's it at? Fused ignition positive brown on the GMT 800 cruise control module is going to go to the 12 volt ignition on pink, and that's all your wires for your Squarebody side. Now your brake switch, which I'm going to get more into here in a second when I go out in the garage and show you the harness and the brake switch. So your brake switch, it should already have 4 terminals on it. If you're, you're running an LS, you should have 4 terminals, because one of them is going to your torque converter lockup, TCC. So I'm thinking that there should be 4 terminals on the top of our brake switch. So I think the front 2 up here run the brake lights, and then the back 2 are going to run the cruise and TCC, because the TCC runs off that 2 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think it does. I think it runs off this back one as well. So in this brake switch, there's actually 2 switches inside of this switch. So you have your portion that controls the lights and this other back portion. So this portion up here for your brake lights, you're going to have 12 volts coming in from the brake light fuse. I think when this, hold on, let me look real quick. All right, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that when you push your brake in, that this one connects and this one connects. So you're going to have 12 volts from your brake light fuse, and you're going to have hot with ignition on this side. It goes into this hot with ignition on, feeding your cruise control, but it is also going to come in here to the brake light switch, which is also going to come down and go here as well, in here into pin D. So it's also going to go in here to pin F, which is your fused ignition. Pin D is the cruise control brake pedal switch input for your automatics. You'll just have to get up under here with a test light or a multimeter, more than likely a test light, just ground it and get up in here to the connectors, the front and the back. So your front ones where you splice in the G pin for the fused stop lamp switch signal. From G, it's going to go up in here and splice into this, I'm assuming very front pin on the brake light switch. But just to confirm that, get a test light, put it on this switch, and then hit the brake. If it lights up, that's where you hook that up at. Then back here, there should be, the way you see which wire you're supposed to hook the D pin up for the brake pedal. Yeah, cruise control brake pedal switch input. The brake pedal switch input, all you got to do is get up under here with your ignition on. One of these terminals is going to have power and the other one isn't. And when you hit the brake, it should switch. The one that does not have power, when you have the ignition on, is where you hook that brake pedal input in for pin D. So pin D here on the one that does not have ignition on. The one that does not have ignition on it, power on it, when the ignition is on, pin D. Then up here, splice pin G into the wire that gets power when you hit the brake pedal. G here, D here. So I'll talk more about that when I go out in the garage. So we've covered the Squarebody wiring, resume Excel, 12 volt with ignition on, set coast, on off. We've covered the brake switch, where to hook that up to. Your ground for pin E can just go anywhere on the body, ground it somewhere. You've got power from the Squarebody going into it. You got your brake switch hooked up. The only other thing you need to hook up is VSS out to have a functioning cruise control. That's the only thing you need left to hook up is your VSS out. So on an LS swapped application, it's 4 pulses per mile. That's what this is going to run off of, is 4 pulses, 4,000 pulses per mile. That's what this runs off of. That's what it wants to see. If it doesn't have that, it's not going to work. That's going to go to pin K on the cruise control module. So you can't hook this VSS wire up at the transmission. It has to come from, let's see, where's it at? VSS, it goes to block C2 pin 50 on your computer. So that is the, I think it's the red connector, pin 50. You'll just have to go into, you can search the drive-by cable GMT 800 PCM pinout, and then you can just look for C2 pin 50, and it'll tell you what color wire it is. Or if you have a standalone harness, they should have copied the same colors. If not, just look in your manual to find it. But that's the wire you need to tap into or splice into to get your VSS signal. If you're running a decoded digital box on gauges, the box where your speed, you get your vehicle speed signal, I think it's called, the wire that runs in from your standalone harness that you hook up to your gauges, you can also hook that up to this K wire as VSS out instead of running it all the way to the computer. That's what I'm going to do, because it's the same thing. It's coming straight from that pin. This is optional, but if you want to hook up the J terminal, which is the cruise control indicator that comes up on your dash whenever you turn the cruise control on and set it, it indicates that it's on. It's not necessary, but if you want it on, you can hook it up to so basically it's going to provide a ground going out. So if you got like an LED or something, just put power to it, then hook the ground side to this. If you have a decoded digital box, it will have a spot for let's see, K terminal on cruise control module can go to the decoded digital control box speed out terminal as long as you're calibrated for 4,000 pulses per mile, which you should be if you're running an LS. That's how you get your accurate speedometer reading. It should have an auto calibration feature. But that is the rundown on the harness, how to build it. Sorry if it was all jumbled. I'm just trying to fit all the information in. It'll probably make more sense once we go out there to look at it. If you're running LED taillights, they'll require a load resistor in the taillight harness to create enough resistance for the cruise control to work, because if you put LEDs in there, they don't create enough resistance for this to be happy. It has to have enough resistance, which the incandescent bulb provides, for it to say, okay, it's all good, cruise control can work. You can wire in load resistors on the tail lights to get that to work if you want to run LED tails. So let's go out there and look at the harness, and maybe I can explain it a little bit better. So here's a shot of your brake switch that you will need. If you're wanting to run cruise, you should already have this if you're running an LS to have your TCC lock up. I think that's the part number. Yeah, it should be. This is the part number for the Duralast brand of this switch. So I don't remember which way it orients in the truck, whether it's this way or this way. But basically, just like on this, these are two separate switches, here and here. One side has power, another side has power. One is 12 volt from the brake light fuse, the other is 12 volt with key on. Then when you push that in, then the 12 volt swaps from one side to the other, one side to the other. It's flip-flop too whenever the ignition. I think if I'm correct, then you're supposed to splice into the wire coming off this one and the wire coming off this one. Whichever way it orients inside of the truck is how it needs to go. So if it's like that, then you splice G into this the wire coming off this terminal, and then you do D off of this back one. So you'll just, like I said earlier, you just have to check and see which side doesn't have 12 volts on this side and this side. 12 volts on this one once you push the brake, and should be the same on this one. But just double check, because if this one has 12 volts here with ignition on, then this one shouldn't. So whichever one of these does not have 12 volts on it when the ignition is on is the one you hook D up to. And then this one, whichever one gets 12 volts whenever you push the brake pedal is the one you hook G up to. But that's enough about the brake switch. Let me show you the harness. All right, this is the cruise control module side of the harness. You can see they're all labeled, just like I said, A through K. Here's one side of it. Try to get it to focus. Here's the other side of it. Just like I said on this pinout, and they're all labeled. It has the colors of them on there and the functions, and you just have to match them up to where they're supposed to go. I went ahead and pre-built my harness based on where I'm going to have that box. And I'm planning on having this box mounted above my glove box on the inside of the cab, just to clean up the firewall, and I'll pass this cable through a grommet to the throttle body there. So that's why my harness is this long. So coming straight off of, bear with me a minute, this ground wire always gets all tangled up. So coming off of it, I have the ground wire here on pin E. So you can just hook that anywhere in the cab or firewall if you choose to put it on the outside. You don't have to run it in the cab, and you'll just have to run your harness outside to it. Try and get it flipped around right. Okay, so there we go. We'll just do it that way. There. Okay, so you got your connector going to the module. You got your ground wire coming off. Hook that wherever. Doesn't matter. Now, this side of it. I have wires going to the I labeled it back bottom terminal of the brake switch. That was going off of these instructions. So this wire would be going to probably the very back one, whichever one, like I said, doesn't have 12 volts with the ignition on. This wire is VSS. It can either go to the PCM on pin 50 of C2, or it can go to your Dakota Digital speed out terminal if you're running those gauges, or whatever wire. If you have a swap harness, they should have supplied a speedometer wire or speed, whatever signal send, whatever they want to label it. It should be there for your gauges if you choose to run digital gauges. But that's where that goes. Brake switch Let me move this plastic out of the way. Brake switch, 12 volt with brake on. That's going to be these two terminals, I'm assuming. I don't know for 100%, but just check with your test light. Whichever one has 12 volts with the brake pressed, that's where that wire goes. And the last one on this harness that I made is cruise indicator. That's going to go to Dakota Digital cruise terminal on the box if you're running that. If you just want to run a just a light, just say this is a light, hook power to this side, and then hook this side to that wire, because that wire is ground triggered, so this will always have power, or put key power, don't have constant power running to it. Then whenever the harness grounds it out, it'll light it up. That's it for that side. This side, so on the Squarebody, it's got a male plug going into this factory cruise module. You can choose to snip these wires out and then hardwire in wires like this if you would like. I'm choosing to wire in a connector. I got this out of a Tahoe, I think, on the driver's side kick panel up behind the panel. It's just a 4-wire plug. So basically, this pink, you have 12 volt with ignition on, set coast, and see I labeled these so I should be able to hook them straight up to factory because I have the factory colors of what they're supposed to be. You got resume Excel and on off, and that's the only wires you need to hook to the Squarebody. So I should be able to just get up under there with just this side with these as a reference, because I have to make sure they hook up correctly, because that's how I wired them in this connector. And then just get up in there with this, and then just solder this into there, and then I'll be able to unplug this whole harness if I want. Other than having these hardwired if I want. More than likely, I'll just use, let me find them, some of these. I know people don't really like these T-taps, but it's not like cruise is a very important feature, or, you know, it wouldn't, like, I wouldn't run that to anything important. If one of those connectors stops cruise from working, I'll just figure out what went wrong. It isn't enough trouble for me to want to solder this in place. So all these, this VSS and the cruise indicator, I'll be able to just screw into the Dakota box. The 2 brake switch wires, I'll probably just T-tap. And then those, I'll actually solder in. This portion, I can still unplug this portion and unplug it from wherever I have it plugged in, and this whole harness will be removable. If anybody wants, I could probably make one of these harnesses for you. I tried as best as I could to, you know, explain these instructions and the functions and how to make this. I could probably make them if you just let me know the length from where you want your module to mount. So from your plug all the way to where your wires down in the floorboard for your factory cruise module is. And then from your plug all the way to the VSS cruise indicator of your choice and your brake switch. If I need to make the VSS longer for you to run it to your computer to splice in, just let me know the links of everything, and then we can get it figured out. If you want me to make you a harness, obviously I've already tested mine. I know I have continuity between here and all the connections I've made. These harnesses I make are soldered, you know, they're nothing special. They're all of it's brand new wiring, with the exception of this connector I got out of an O2 Tahoe. It's all wrapped in this cloth electrical tape. I check it all. It's all soldered and heat shrinked. That way, if you want, all you got to do is go to the junkyard, get your module, get one of these harnesses for me. If you want, I can just leave this without a connector on it and just have these wires. I might end up doing that unless you specify exactly you want a connector on here like this. It doesn't really make any difference. The only difference is you would have to solder these in or butt connect or whatever, however you want to put them on your Squarebody. So you just have to plug it in, wire it up to your switch controls, and then wire up your 2 brake wires, VSS and indicator if you want it, and that's it. So there you go. That is these instructions explained as best as I can.